Let's talk about the tweet from President Trump where he said essentially that as far as he knew, there was no recording of Comey's conversations. This comes after, however many weeks ago, he had cryptically tweeted that he hopes Comey tells the truth because, who knows, there might be tapes or there might be recordings of him. Now, does it seem like it wasn't long ago, I'll say a year ago, when Trump would do something like this, that, for those of you who've been following me for a while, doesn't it seem like it wasn't long ago, a year ago or so, that when he did something like this, it would require me personally to explain why it wasn't dumb? Do you remember those days? CNN calling him a liar. But, I turned on the news yesterday, and Hannity in particular, Sean Hannity, was essentially saying exactly what I'm going to say next, because at this point I think it's obvious to everybody that the things that look random and clownish and accidental, it's kind of coincidental that they all seem to work out in his direction, don't you think? So let's talk about that. So by making his original tweet, President Trump warned Comey that he might be recorded. Well, what does this do to Comey? It guarantees that he can't lie about a private conversation, and it guarantees that he can't even really stretch it or try to leave out some context, something that's not quite lying, but, you left out the context, you left out the sentence after that sort of thing. So President Trump completely took away from Comey his strongest weapon, which is that it was a private conversation and he could characterize it any way he wanted because there were no recordings, as far as Comey knew. So for President Trump to basically put the fear in him, it probably strategically was exactly the right thing. But it also had the secondary benefit, and other people have pointed this out, that since Trump was already blaming, the deep state and blaming somebody of wiretapping him in his campaign without necessarily enough cause, his subsequent tweet where he says, well, I don't personally know of any recording, but, things could happen. Things get recorded that not everybody knows about. Sometimes the deep state is just recording maybe people on the other side of the conversation. So in our minds, all of these things are starting to conflate. Aren't you sort of losing which Russian story was which and which wiretapping, taping, recording story was which, and now even which Comey story was which? We have like 5 Comey stories, 17 Russian stories, and how many wiretapping stories going on? 3, 5, I don't know. So we have something like, 20 different versions of these stories that all sort of are, overlapping, and one reminds you of the other, and you have no freaking idea at this point what is what with any of these. It's confuses Stan. Yeah. So if you were to look at the effectiveness of what President Trump did with his first tweet that said, hey, there might be recordings, Comey. And then the second tweet that said, well, maybe not. As far as I know, there are no recordings, but you never know. He got everything he wanted out of that. And I don't think he necessarily risked much of anything.